So, if you didn't know already, I am into photography, and what I've basically done since I've started back in, I think, March, I have basically just made a compilation of the best photos of that month. So, best photos of March, April, May, June, all the way up to now, where it's end of July. It's probably August when you're watching this, and I wanted to sort of, I guess, break down and assess my photography progression since when I first started to where I am now. I think throughout any journey, self-improvement, photography, going to the gym, whatever, you are going to progress somehow and in some way, shape or form. And in my case, it was I upgraded the camera that I had. I used to take photos on the Canon 4000D, and now I've got a Sony a7R II. So yeah, I made a full review about it as well. So the video will be up here somewhere. That's probably the biggest change, other than obviously my skill developing and the way I see photos, the way I perceive the aperture and shutter speed and ISO to work, and just the way I see a photo and the way I take photos, even down to like how I press the shutter button. Like, I have progressed, and I think I've progressed quite quickly since I first started. I think even down to editing a photo, I've progressed, and my editing's gotten certainly better and different to how I first started. The style, the way I edit, I mean that in a sense of like, I used to do everything in order. Now I do like exposure, then like some of the colors and like the global, and like it's very, I wouldn't say it's sporadic, it's still a very like organized thing. But yeah, so I think a photo is either made or broken in editing. I definitely broke many of my photos in editing before, but now I like to think I am quite good at editing. Certainly not at a level where I could teach, but certainly at a level where I could take a bad photo and make it something decent or good. So yeah, hopefully you can see that as well. And so yeah, so I've got the face cam working, hopefully. So hopefully you can see me talk. Hello. So yeah, so we're basically now just going to go through my photos, not in Lightroom. We're going to do that later. So we're going to go through my photos now, and I'm just going to talk you through them and basically talk about them from my point of view now, and maybe not what I was trying to achieve back then, because I can't really remember. I didn't really think about my photos, I just sort of took them. So yeah, right, so March, let's go. I've got like literally 5 good photos from March, like different photos, all pretty different. So first one, pretty basic. I do like it quite a bit less than I would like to. I mean, look at the grain. No one wants to see that. That's horrible. What the hell? The Canon, this is on the Canon. It's really bad with grain. And this is quite like a dark spot. This is with a dark spot as well. And I think in editing, I turned down the luminance of the yellows, like the orangey sort of light that's lighting up all the text. As an actual composition, it's not terrible, really. Like, I could see what I was thinking back then, but yeah, I mean, it's not the best, it's not great. I mean, look at that, look up here. It's just all grainy and it's just horrible. It's not nice to look at, really. I mean, you could maybe scale it down for an Instagram post, but other than that, I'm not really sure what you could do with it. This one I actually really like. It is grainy, but it sort of plays into the theme of the whole image. And I don't know what I was thinking when I was taking the photo. I just took the photo of, like, this is my girlfriend. I took the photos of her. She was in this phone booth. I just took photos and she just did her thing. I said, just do your thing. I'll just get good angles of you. Not in a creepy way. But I really like it. It's really authentic. I've always tried to aim for capturing authenticity in my photos. I don't want to say, oh, like, smile for the camera or like do something for the camera. I want someone to be doing something and me to capture that. So that's what I've always cared about in photography. And this is just amazing. Like, you can see she's actually happy. She's not trying to put on a smile. And she's actually, I don't know what she was doing. She was on her phone or something. But yeah, I gave it this sort of vintage black and white style, which I think really helped with it. The composition's actually pretty damn good, I must admit. Like the sort of the frame, and like she's in the frame. It looks nice. Like, it looks like a decent photo. I could definitely post this like on Instagram, and like it would get like decent views. And even we were talking about last time, like with the last photo, it's not terribly grainy. It is, but like not round spots where you would expect it to be. Like her hair, like, it's pretty dark in this photo, and it's not terrible. But I think the grain sort of plays into the strength. It's sort of it's a strong point of the photo, because it gives it that vintage, like raw kind of like old look, I suppose, and that's what I was going for in editing. I sort of switched it and I was like, oh shit, this looks good. But yeah, this photo, fuck me, that looks terrible. Jesus Christ. I was expecting to kind of like it, but it's not even really in focus that much. Like, it's just too close. It's too narrowed. I think I was on like 50mm. I used the 18-55. I think I was on 55mm. The blur's all right. Like, the lens ain't really like amazing, but it's just way too saturated, way too dark. The greens are way too dark, and the browns and the oranges and yellows are way too bright and saturated, like purple and magenta, like just there. And like, I don't know, it just pops way too much. And in this era, in the March era, I had a lack of use of tone curves, and I didn't use tone curves up until late June. So like recently I've used tone curves, and fuck me, they're a game changer. But yeah, this kind of just looks horrible. I mean, it looks false, really. It looks kind of fake. Even like here, what's this? It's just all muddy and terrible. It's not a pleasing image, really. This, I actually quite like. When I took the photo, it looks really good. But I oversaturated the yellows a bit. But I really like the water sort of droplets that landed on the lens, like especially these two in particular. They landed just perfectly, like on the actual lamppost, on the light of the lamppost, I mean. And I like the darkness of the trees. Like, I could see what I was going for here. I was doing some night photography with a Canon. I know I'm a psycho, but it's pretty grainy. Yeah, pretty damn grainy, I will admit. It's not the best, but certainly not the worst out of the bunch that I've showed you. Believe it or not, we're about to get a lot worse. And the final photo, I think this is alright. Just really grainy and kind of out of focus, especially at the top of the thingy. It just doesn't look focused. It's but the composition is quite nice. Like, the frame itself is quite nice. Like, you get the trees in the foreground, and then you get like the trees in the bottom of the background, and you get the subject right there in the background. Also, it's well oversaturated. The sky is oversaturated as fuck. Like, what the hell? Right, next up is April, and as you can see, this one looks like shit. The rest of them look okay, but this one and maybe this one looks a bit shit. So let's go. This one, the composition's alright. I see what I was doing. I was trying to like leading lines towards the bows, I think that's how you pronounce it, thingy. But obviously, as you can see, the actual logo isn't in focus. This is, which I was not that wasn't my intention. But it looks alright. I mean, it's quite saturated, like down here. But yeah, I mean, up here, it looks kind of terrible. Like, I think the aqua and the blues, I sort of saturated just to get like this to like pop more, but it didn't really work. But yeah, my composition has always been like quite a strong point for me. So the actual image itself isn't bad. Like, the idea isn't bad, but like just the editing is bad. This one as well, I think I had a low aperture. Like, obviously the 18-55 is f3.5 to 5.6, so it's not going to be like f2.8 like on the one that I'm recording right now. It's just pretty grainy, to be honest. It's like, the grain also doesn't help when your dog's black, so it's going to pick up more grain in the darks and the shadows. And since the dog is like the subject, you'd think she'd be in focus, but yeah, it doesn't really look that nice. Like, it's alright, it's kind of cute, like the dog's kind of cute, but it's alright. This one is terrible, fuck me. The blues are oversaturated, out of focus is wobbly. I think I had like shutter speed like 1/50 of a shutter, and it's just terrible. The reds are way saturated, and like, it's just mess of an image. This one is alright. This is where I began to become inspired by like film photography and guys like FUTC and Gothy. I can't believe I can pronounce that name right, Jesus. I remember this, I went out to like 300 photos on this day, and this photo is on the same day. I quite like this photo actually. The bokeh is quite nice. If I zoom like up here, it's quite nice. Other than like, obviously the leaves are in focus, like for the most part. But yeah, it's an alright image. If I cropped it and moved it up a bit, that would have made it a lot better. But yeah. Right, next photo bunch is from May. Now this is where on this month I got paid like quite a bit, and I bought a preset pack by FUTC, who I've already mentioned. He's a fucking G, by the way. Like, he's literally helped me so much in my photography. And he's really entertaining. But anyway, I'm not dick riding anymore. So I bought his preset pack called Analog Vibes, and it's for Fujifilm, really, but it can be used on like any like camera or whatever. But yeah, so as you can see, the first image is a lot more pleasing. This is with the same camera that I took this image on. So that just goes to show, it's not really about the camera, it's about how you use it, and it's about ability to focus and your ability to edit, or your use of preset packs. But yeah, so it's quite nice. It's got my sister there, like petting my dog, who's like sort of playing. She's being a spastic, but I like the saturated red collar. Darks aren't too dark. Yeah, like the aim of film is basically with the tone curves. It's like so on the shadows you put it up, on the highlights you put it down, and then you do an S curve from there, pretty much. So bring the highlights down, bring the shadows up, and then do an S curve, like a quite harsh S curve. But yeah, so I like the greens, like the grass looks really nice. The flowers as well, you can literally see them. I'd like them a lot, like this image a lot, it's nice. This one as well, just like the highlights as well, like, and the shadows down here, they're really nice. Just the colors, the textures that you get from this image is yeah, really good. So yeah, the textures you can just see. It's not about the camera you use, really. I mean, having a Sony like I do now is good, but it's not the be all and end all. But it is fucking good. But no, the Canon is good as well. Like, look. Now this one, I really like this one a lot. I'm at my girlfriend's house, and the highlights, like this is her like basically kitchen, that's her garden. Those doors have like the black, basically curtain, like see-through curtain, and it acts as like a filter. So yeah, the highlights aren't so harsh, so I can bump the exposure up. Belle, the dog, was just literally stood here, and I thought, like, she just looks pretty cute, and the composition looks good, and I just snapped the image, and yeah, this is what came of it. So yeah, I think that's my cake there in the corner, but yeah, we used to make cake quite a lot. I'm trying not to now, so I'm trying to cut, but yeah, get more into that in another video. But it is still a bit grainy up here, but you can't really help that. I mean, I could do some noise reduction, but other than that, it looks pretty good to me. So yeah, you can tell I've edited this because it looks fucking horrible. I mean, look, it just looks kind of bland. The image and the idea was really good. I think my idea was really good here. You got the foreground, which is down here, subject, which is my girlfriend again, background, or the midground, sorry, which is the like sea. You got the background, which is the sky, and partly this landscape. So it's quite a nice looking image, but like obviously the colors are way too saturated. Like down here, they're way too saturated. The blues are way too saturated and quite dark, actually. There's no vignette. It doesn't look very cinematic. It just doesn't really look that pleasing to the eye. So yeah, I could have done a lot better with these images, but yeah. Right, now we move on to June. And in this month, this is where I discovered tone curves. So this was a fucking game changer for me. I tried editing this image myself, right? It was terrible. I used Analog Vibes, and I was like, no, that's it. This image looks fucking sick because I used Analog Vibes, right? And I just thought, you know what, I'll just go through it. I'll go through and I'll delete every element of the editing process until I figure out what the fuck is like fucking up my images. And what I noticed is FUTC he had a very harsh tone curve. This is when I realized about tone curves. He had a really harsh tone curve. He didn't sharpen and he minused the clarity on his images, so they looked cleaner. They didn't look too like sharp and like overblown and grainy. And also another thing I noticed is colors. He used I think they're called pastel tones. He used very film-like tones like green and purple and like blue and orange, like cyan and red, colors like that. And he bumped up the luminance of a lot of his colors a lot of the time. He didn't just saturate them to shit. So yeah, that's a couple of things I noticed whilst assessing his way of editing, really. So yeah, this image, I think I edited this myself. It doesn't look, well, I'm not sure actually, because I was beginning to get very close to the film look, not really necessarily the cinematic kind of look, but the film look. But yeah, I think he must have edited, or no, he didn't edit it, but I used I used Analog Vibes for this one, I think. And then this is where I discovered tone curves and I started really using them. As you can see, I've got a little bit of a curve there. That's not like a tone curve, but that's literally like how I took the photo. So yeah, you can see it's like I'm starting to use more like of my own editing skills and putting them into my own photos, which is quite nice to see. After this was about 5 months in, or yeah, four and a bit months in, I started using my own tone curves. I experimented with like the blue and reds, the purple, the greens, the oranges, the blues in the tone curve, and yeah, I think the image looks really sharp as well. That's another thing I've improved on. It looks really sharp, doesn't look very grainy at all. It looks generally pretty good. I probably could have cropped it better, or like composed it better. Yeah, other than that, it looks pretty like solid. This one as well, I haven't got really much to say other than the clouds are kind of bluey greeny. But yeah, it looks quite good. It looks like a quality image. It definitely has potential. But yeah, again, I could have moved to the left a little bit, and then move the camera to the right to get the window in fully. Like the trees kind of blocking out the window. Yeah, my exposure is generally pretty good. Like there's not much grain I can see, like at all really. Not even down here, like not much I can see. Obviously I've used tone curves here. There's no real colour to it though. That's the thing I've noticed. There's no real colour to it. It's not like a blue dominant or like an orange dominant or like a red or a green or a purple dominant. It's sort of no real colour to it. Obviously there's actual colours in the houses and stuff, but like the colours that I've added, like the artificial kind of colours to make it look a certain way, like be aesthetically pleasing, aren't really there. So that's what makes the image kind of flat, which is in sharp contrast or big contrast to this image right here, which is very, I want to say, blue, orange, green, cyan dominant. I'll say green dominant because the clouds are quite green, but nevertheless you can still see the Tesco sign. I could have probably removed these two like poster like things here, or like lamppost, yeah, lamppost things. I could have moved the camera up when I was taking the photo to get rid of this, but other than that, I think the photo is pretty solid. Again, I've used tone curves and I've experimented with different coloured like tone curves, and yeah, I really think I'm starting to find my sort of way of taking photos and editing photos with this. In this particular photo shoot, I really started to experiment properly and find my style and really fine tune it to get to my own certain style. This one is okay, I suppose. It's a bit of a downgrade from the other one, really. It looked quite nice because you've got a definite foreground, you've got a midground, you've got the subject, which is like the thingy here, and you've got the background, which is the sky. So it's a very good constructed image. The ISO is obviously like bumped down. There's no grain that I can really see, but the leaves they're kind of fake. They look really fake. That's just my general sort of observation of that. They look really fake, and even the leaves, like the trees here, the greenery looks kind of wacky. Look at that. It looks really cloudy. That's one thing I've noticed. It looks quite cloudy. But other than that, the reflections on the cars are quite nice. Now we move on to July. These are all the Sony photos that I took. So you've got a bit of night photography there, got a bit of long exposure, a bit of rainy, a bit of sunset, and we'll get to all of this right now. Just look. I mean, looks pretty fucking good to me. But then again, you might be a better photographer than me watching this video, and you might be saying this is fucking shit. But I just think, considering I'm 6 months in, this is good. Like, I like this image. There's a bit of grain because I'm taking advantage. I'm sort of taking the piss out of the ISO, really. Like, I have a tendency with the Sony, because I know it's got a good ISO, I have a tendency to take the piss out of it, which, what I mean by that is, I just don't really do much else. I don't really think about it because I don't really have to. I just bump the ISO up, and that's it. The image is done. But not really. It's more about including everything. Like, the grain is still there. It's quite prominent, like especially down here. But no, I do really like this image. It looks like a good image. Like, when I took, like, the actual photo itself is good. But just even the editing as well. Like, it's not too contrasty. Obviously it is quite contrasty because, like, you got the sunset there, you got light, and then you got dark. Like, it's pretty evident it's contrasty, but No, I like it. It's like dark blue to like light blue, greyish, pink, purple, red, orange, yellow, and then you got like the fiery sort of background there, and you got like the mid-ground, like the landscape there. But yeah, I do really like this image a lot. This one, not really. It kind of looks like a Canon photo, I can't lie. It looks like a Canon photo but better, but just not that good. It doesn't really look amazing. It's not much to it. It's just kind of disappointing, really. This one I actually really do like. The colours, it's obviously a very green dominated image, but it's got elements of like magenta, purple, red, orange. I do really like the shape of I think it's not even a plant, it's like a tree. It's literally just a bunch of leaves. And like the darks here as well, they're really nice. Yeah, I do like this image. It's very pleasing to me. It was one of my highlights of the day, actually, that particular day of shooting. It was one of the highlights. These two photos were shot on the same day. And so was this one, actually. I fucking love this image. Look at the background, right? It's blurred out. It looks really nicely blurred. You can see the subject. It's clearly in your face, but not too in your face. It's quite saturated, but it looks like a film sort of look. It has a film look to it. So like the yellows pop out, the oranges and reds pop out. The reds are quite desaturated. The greens are quite saturated. But yeah, the background is very clearly trying not to exist in that in this image, which I quite like because the main subject is clearly taken and stealing all the show. So yeah, I have nothing really bad to say about this image. Again, not too grainy. This is where I start to not take the piss out of the ISO so much. So it's not really that grainy. It looks good. It looks nice. I could have done better with the tone curves. I must admit that I could have done better with the tone curves, but other than that, it's quite good. And I could have turned the luminance down on the oranges, but other than that, it's looking quite good. So yeah, this image, it looks quite cold, and yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't look right, in my opinion. I liked it a lot more when I first saw it, that's for sure. If you're ever stuck on the way an image looks or the way you want an image to look, and you finish the edit and you don't know if you like it or you don't, go do something for an hour and then come back and then look at the image and then see, and then your raw reaction will show you whether you like it or not. So yeah, this image, I actually really like this one. It doesn't look like much, but I really like the pure greens and like the red in the house and like the black car. It's clearly the subject of the image, and like the light greys. It's a very light-hearted image. It's like a film sort of image, but not. Like you can tell it's not film, but the question's still there, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I like something about this image. It's nice to me. This first like sort of portrait. The subject, my girlfriend. It is very much in focus, not very grainy, which is good. And yeah, there's a vignette as well, which is good, cinematic as fuck. And yeah, it looks like quite a good image. It looks quite nice, yeah. So yeah, not really got much to say about that. This one, oh my god, I love taking these fucking photos. It's very green dominant. It's like basically the light of a car, but not lit up. Tone curves are fucking immaculate. The reflections as well. Oh my god, it's just beautiful. Same with this one. I don't have much to say. Like the reds are just amazing. Like if you flick back and forth in Lightroom, you just see your progress and like how you've edited the photo and how much of a masterpiece you've made out of this. Like it just looks fucking amazing in my opinion. Like it just looks really good. This one as well. It looks alright. I mean, it could have been more luminant around the reds and the purples, and I could have had less of a harsh vignette, but other than that, it looks pretty fucking good to me. This one is probably the worst out of the bunch. It's not much to it. It's alright. But yeah, it doesn't look as cool as the others. It just looks alright, you know. This one as well, I quite like it, but yeah, it's like I quite like it. That's what I've got to say. Could have been a lot brighter, I think. Yeah, other than that, it looks pretty good to me. So yeah, rain photography, I fucking love it on the Sony A7R II because there's so much contrast and there's so much depth to the image. It's quite purple. It's quite purple dominated. I don't really like that. I prefer if it was like deep blue or like quite like a cyan sort of blue. But yeah, it looks quite nice. The first night photography photo, fuck me, it looks amazing. I think it looks really good. Like, it could have been more orange down here, but that's just due to the time of day, like when I took the photo. But yeah, I used enhanced like noise reduction to reduce the noise. But yeah, so that's that, and no harm done. In fact, it made the photo better. I think it just, yeah, it softens the image though. That's what you got to be careful of with noise reduction in Lightroom. It softens the image a lot. The first long exposure, I'll forever remember this. It's way too saturated around the blues, but I don't give a fuck. This is the main portion of the image. This is what you're looking at. Come on. This looks pretty good. This is handheld, by the way. This is handheld long exposure. Like, bro. I fucking love it. And this one as well. It just looks sick. It just looks so good. I just love long exposures. I need to get more. Also, by the way, if you want to see that long exposure and any of those Sony photos, then take a look at my Sony camera review, where I take the camera out and I take many a photo. This one, the fucking blues and the cyans are amazing, and it just looks really, I think with this part of the image, I definitely softened it up a little bit, and I decreased the clarity, and I dehazed it a little bit, like negative dehaze it. Could have done with a vignette, but other than that, I fucking love it. This one, oh my god, it's fucking amazing. It's so good. I love it. It's very orangey dominated. It's pink around the edges, it's orange, purple and magenta, and it's got the black silhouette of the bird. Don't know if you can tell it's a bird, but yeah, look at that. This is what the Sony fucking A7R II can get you. Fucking 7-year-old camera. Like, honestly, bro, look at this. Definition in every aspect of the image. And I love the little like thing here. It's literally like the window. When you open the window in my mum and dad's bedroom, there's like a metal frame that like keeps it there, and obviously I just used that and it just looks fucking amazing. Yeah, this, goddamn, there is a lot, like rain photography with the Sony A7R II. I mean, look at this. Look, it just looks pleasing to me. It just looks pleasing, but not as pleasing as, well, this one. Could have done with a bit more saturation around the blues, and desaturation around the whole image. But yeah, this one I like. This one as well, fuck me, look at this. And these are my favourites actually. This red car was really good. Yeah, you could just see every aspect of the image. It's just really sharp, and yeah, you can definitely tell that I've progressed from here to where I was before. But this, oh, bro, if I had a vignette, I think I did have a vignette, but if I had a harsher vignette, or like a deeper vignette, it would have made the image 10 times better. But this image is already like fucking amazing. If you go back and forth again in Lightroom, you just see the progression in your image and it just looks amazing. But look at this. Look. This, yeah, that's what I was on about as well. This is just, oh, I fucking love it. The rain on the leaves and like the saturation, it's just, and the composition for one is just fucking incredible. Like it just goes down into the middle of the photo. It just like, yeah, I like it a lot. Now we're going to jump into Lightroom, and basically I'm just going to show you how I used to edit versus how I edit now. So yeah. So, the Starbucks photo that I showed you before. This is before, this is after. This is before, this is after. So, neither one looks good, I will say, but I don't know. So yeah, right. Let's go bit by bit. So, the exposure, minus 1.84, the contrast is 25. I don't know why I set the contrast so high, but I mean, this looks flat, this looks kind of alright, but yeah, I don't know why I set the temperature, the color temperature to like something Kelvin, I don't know. I've no idea why I set it to that high, but the vibrance is down, but the saturation's up. That's a bit counterintuitive, don't you think? But yeah, so see the tone curves, there's no tone curves in there. Like, there's literally nothing. I don't know, the shadows and the darks are up. I don't know why. That's why. It's probably, that's happening because the contrast is so high. I reckon. But let's go down to the colours, right? The colours, they're quite off. This looks kind of terrible, but this looks like, oh, it's a bit weird. The yellows, in particular, like these. The oranges, actually. If I were to do this now, I'd probably set it here, rather than like up here. More to the middle, rather than so harsh there, but yeah. Saturation as well, it's just, I don't know why I've set the saturation like that. This looks really, really weird to me. The shadows, they're fine, they're blue. The highlights are fine, they're a bit off, but they're fine. And the midtones are the exact same as the highlights. I don't get that. I usually set the midtones around here, right? So that's a bit of contrast between the image. I mean, look at that, and then it looks a little bit better. But I would set like them here maybe, or like down here, but never the same as the highlights. It's just, it's quite weird to me. I mean, when you saw them like that, didn't that look a bit weird to you? How two of them were the same, one of them was like different? Just looked weird. Denoise. It's not kindly compatible with this photo format. It's probably JPEG actually, that's probably why it looks bad, because it's a JPEG. I used to shoot in JPEG a lot. But yeah. And I've done nothing here. That's another thing, I've done nothing here. Which, this calibration, it kind of sets, it's the thing that sets your photo apart from everyone else's, because you can set the colours of like everything. It's like the blues, you can set them really blue or kind of purpley, and you can set the yellows to like kind of yellowy or orangey. I prefer to go more this side, but you can do whatever you want really. As the greens as well, I prefer to set them this side, but you can do what you want. The yellow, the red, sorry, I prefer to set them, I don't know, it depends on whether I want like a cinematic cold kind of look or like a warm filmy kind of look. So yeah, if I were to do this again, first thing I'd do is denoise. Second thing I'd do is remove all of that and redo it. Third thing I'll probably redo the entire image really. Third thing I'd do is do the tone curves. So yeah, I could get an unedited photo and edit it if you wanted to see that. But yeah, I'll get another one, so this one as well. It just looks horrible, and I think the reason is, if I'm, oh fuck, oh shit, right, I think the reason is, so I didn't even do any of this. If I had just done that, it looks a tiny bit better. But no, it just looks weird now. Yeah, that's why I set the greens way too green and not yellow enough. Like I should have set them there. Yeah, so that, first thing I'd do is set the greens to like the lowest saturation possible. I didn't even do any of this. What the hell? Maybe I didn't finish it, or just didn't want to bother with that. But yeah, like I used to always fiddle with this, but never the actual tone curve, like never the thing that mattered. I had no idea why, but yeah, there we go. Yeah, so let's import a new set of photos of my dog. The first time I used Analog Vibes by FUTC. Look at that. Tone curve is used. Obviously I didn't really look, but the tone curve is used. The colours look good. The greens aren't saturated and they're pushed down actually. That's luminance. Yeah, they're pushed down. That surprises me. Yeah, film-like look. Generally looks pretty good. There's no vignette though, so let's add one. I don't know. Does it look any better? Not really. Kind of looks like shit now. All right, let's go back. So yeah, as you can see down here, not much has been done with that, but this and all of this has been like tweaked, and the clarity's down, and the texture's like at 0, so it's not been tweaked at all. This one again, same thing. The tone curve is there. So yeah, that's that. I really like this photo because it looks like film, but it looks like Christmas. And look at the tone curve. Look at the difference. That's without tone curve. That's with tone curve. Without, with. Obviously I've got all three of them like sort of set up. But this is basically the tone curve. This is like the film like tone curve, and you can see the difference right now. Like, look. I know I'm skimming through quite a bit, but hopefully I can just show you like my progression through that. And then I'll take a lot of photos, which I don't really touch. This one, I like this one a lot. Yeah, there we go. I like this one a lot. Look, the textures are just really good on the Sony. The use of tone curves, again, not really a harsh tone curve really. It's just, yeah, I mean, that looks quite good. Yeah, I mean, you can see there, like that just looks like shit. That looks fucking good. Like shit, good. Like, you can just see the use of tone curves. Throughout like March and April, I didn't use tone curves, and in like May, I started to use tone curves within the use of like FUTC analog vibes, and then obviously now I use tone curves all the time because why wouldn't you? They're amazing. They're like the be-all and end-all, pretty much. I think they genuinely are the be-all and end-all of editing photos as tone curves. In this stage of the video, I sort of realised I haven't really made that clear, but I just want to reiterate that tone curves, I started using tone curves and they're just fucking amazing. And this as well, the colour grading, like the shadows, the midtones and the highlights, they matter a lot. Some of you might neglect them, some of you might not, but look. That's off, that's on. Like, it's night and day difference really. And also a vignette. That's without a vignette. That's with a vignette. So yeah, you can just see the difference. And even with like one, yeah, there it is. That one, which I do need to do something to right now, which is, there we go, that looks better. You can just see, like, I'll just go through each of them. This is the exposure sort of tab. This is the tone curves. What a difference. I mean, what the hell? Look, bro. If you ain't using tone curves, what the fuck are you doing, bro? What are you doing with your life? Genuinely. Like, oh my god. I'm just tweaking them right now, but like, look, it just makes a night and day difference. And the colours as well, like the HSL tab as well. Just like really puts the focus on the red car, or the maroon car, whatever you want to say. Calibration, which highlights the red again, emphasizes the orange and the yellows. Color grading, that's really where most of the source happens as well. Color grading, it's really good because without the shadows, you don't really have much. And then you put the shadows in again, look, it's night and day difference. So, that was something a little bit different. You may have liked it, you may have not, but I thought I'd try it anyway, just to see like my progression throughout the 6 months that I've been doing photography. And it's a good placeholder. It's half a year. I've been doing photography for half a year, and in half a year's time again, I will do a year's progress in my photography. So I hope this has helped you sort of understand where I've come from and where I've gone to in terms of my photography progress, and like how I edit photos, how I think about taking photos, and just overall, I hope it helps you in some way with your progression in photography, and in maybe you're a color like grader, whatever. Maybe it helps you somehow, or maybe it just entertains you. Either one, like I'm happy with. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a like. If you want to see some more of my photos, including some of these ones that I've showed you today, my Instagram's down in the description below. So yeah, go follow that, like it, and go get your dopamine. So yeah, I think that's all from me, and yeah, see you later.